In just 7 years, the ride-sharing service Uber has changed the way millions of people get around. As the company spread to 600 cities worldwide, it's now valued at $70 billion, it's faced criticism that Uber drivers too often pose a threat to their passengers. The Fifth Estate has been investigating the company, and co-host Gillian Finley joins us now in studio. What did you find?
What we found was the real issue, Ian, was about vetting. Uber says it does appropriate screening of its drivers, but our investigation found strong evidence to the contrary. Allegations of harassment, assault, even worse, and some of it even caught on tape.
Get out of my car now!
I am just
Get out
asking
of
you.
my car now!
I don't know where I am.
Get out of my car now! God damn you to hell!
This is what Uber's image makers are battling against. Drivers abusing passengers, usually women, some of it captured on video. Incidents of harassment, abuse.
Oh my God! What are you doing?
And even worse.
Tonight we have a warning for women who use Uber, which advertises itself as a safe ride home.
Uber refuses to say how many assault complaints it's received. But investigations in the United States have come up with some startling numbers.
CNN has documented at least 103 Uber drivers in the U.S. who've been accused of sexually assaulting or abusing their passengers in the past 4 years.
I think the number is more like in the thousands.
Los Angeles lawyer Lisa Bloom is a celebrity in her own right, a go-to attorney for high-profile sex assault complainants. She's been hearing about Uber drivers for years.
Well, we've heard from dozens and dozens of women who allege that they were sexually harassed or assaulted in Ubers, including violent rapes. And we've represented several dozen women with those kinds of claims. We've also filed lawsuits over this. This is a very serious problem.
So, Gillian, what about here in Canada? What did you find out about driver-passenger incidents?
Well, we started by asking Uber, and as we said, they wouldn't answer any of those questions. The police records don't always make that clear either. So we did a search of legal and news media databases, and we came up with at least 24 cases of drivers in Canada criminally charged with harming their passengers. At least one of those drivers on the app was there despite being on probation for an earlier assault. So
presumably there's some level of screening.
Yeah, there is, but it's not as to the same standard as taxi and limo drivers, for instance. You know, typically they have to actually go to a police station to have their records checked. In some cities in Canada and in many cities in the U.S., Uber contracts those checks out to a private company that may or may not have access or pay to have access to all databases. So in the U.S. in particular, there are numerous cases of people who should have been rejected as drivers by Uber's own standards. Nevertheless, they're driving.
It never occurred to me, but it sounds like it's pretty easy to become an Uber driver.
Well, this is one of Uber's selling points. They say it takes 4 minutes. If you have a basic driver's license and less than 9 demerit points, you can be on your way. But as for training, there isn't any, not really. There's an online video that teaches you how to use the Uber technology, but there's nothing about how to navigate, how to keep passengers safe, anything like that.
And you've mentioned a few times about Uber not answering questions. More broadly, what does it say about all of this?
Well, generally, their argument is, look, we're not a transport company. We are a technology platform. We just put people, riders and drivers together. We're not really responsible for what happens. They say because of that, they shouldn't be regulated like a transport company, and increasingly in Canada and elsewhere, they're not.
None of these things I've ever thought about as I get into occasionally an Uber car. Gillian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can watch Gillian's entire story online. Just go to cbc.ca/fifth.